3, 2, 1. Tech support! Hello, I'm Adam from Your Movie Sucks. This is Sardonicast. I sound a bit, there might be a bit of room echo. I'm in a different place. I'm just kind of setting up, and it might be like this for a couple episodes until we're all completely set up and I got some soundproofing stuff in here. How's it going? Hello, who am I here with? Hi.
Hi, I'm Ralph the Movie Maker.
Yeah, and I'm Alex from HE, and yeah, that was a nice little shout out. I was kind of hoping you were going to go meow like Tom does in the movie. That would have been a good one, but
yeah,
that one works.
Mm-hmm. You can if I ever do the one you wish, if I ever miss one that you wish I would have done, you can always just do it.
I was tempted to, but then I was thinking about actually having to do the impression of Tom Cruise and Vanilla Sky, and I was. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I had second thoughts. I couldn't.
It would just be a lot of screaming, just a lot of like yelling.
Yeah, there's a lot of yelling.
Yeah, there is.
Speaking of meow cat people, we all saw the second Avatar film. Avatar, The Way of Water,
The Shape of Water.
The shape. Nice.
Avatar, Titanic 2. The second Avatar film.
I've been told I say water wrong, just because like I think my accent comes to
water.
Water. Yeah, I'm like water.
Water.
Way of the water.
I'll just say like H2O.
Okay, yeah.
Avatar H2O.
Yeah. James Cameron loves H2O.
Yeah. There was a Halloween movie called H2O.
Yeah. Can I give a brief synopsis of the movie?
Sure, yeah. Give a brief synopsis.
Yeah, without spoilers.
Yeah, without spoilers?
So it's a sequel.
I don't know.
To the epic James Cameron movie Avatar from 13 years ago, 2009, right? Is that
right?
2009.
Yes.
And it's which was, of course, the highest grossing movie ever. And this is the follow-up film following Sam Worthington as Jake Sully, and he's with Zoe Saldana, and they live in the forest, and they have like, I don't know if this is spoiler, I guess they have like a family, and yeah, they're just like doing their thing, and until there's like other threats that come in, so they have to make friends with other tribes, including a water tribe, which they show in the trailer. And you see them in the ocean.
I mean, they show everything in the trailer. If you're perceptive enough, you can figure out what the plot is, even though it would kind of be a spoilery thing.
There were certain things that were like kind of surprising to me that I thought were cool.
I would just like to get into spoilers, honestly.
Yeah, we can get into spoilers now. I just wanted to say that I really like the movie.
A good way to summarize it, though, is the if the first movie was about saving the trees, this one's about saving the whales.
It's about saving the ocean.
Yeah.
That is a good way to summarize it, actually. Because there's a lot of similar like plot beats and stuff, which is not like a bad thing. It is a sequel. Takes what works about the first one, I think, and like improves on it in certain ways, especially like some of the character development. I do like the characters much better in this movie. I like that they focus much less on like the white savior kind of shit. That I don't really think there's much of that in this film. Really, I mean, Jake Sully at this point is just like a Na'vi with a gun. I like that. I like certain things they did there. I thought Sam Worthington was actually better in this movie than he was in the first one. I don't know. Are we in spoilers now?
I would like to be, yeah.
Yeah, I say. Let's just get into
to say I like the movie.
To dance around. Yeah.
I mean, I bet a lot of people saw it. I think it did really well this weekend, especially overseas, right? Because it has a lot of international appeal. Mm-hmm. It's just like a big special effects movie.
Yeah. So I saw the trailer, and I felt like I was maybe one of the only people on the planet that was like kind of excited for it, because everybody was doing this weird like contrarian like Avatar, whatever. And yeah, like for an effects movie is most of the reason why I was excited for it. It's just like, oh yeah, I want to see this new technology, and like the fucking water looks amazing. Just like the water like particle effects or fluid effects or whatever you call them. And one thing that kind of bugged me about the trailer, I was like, okay, So there's this Avatar character, and he's got the exact same tattoo as Stephen Lang's character from the first movie. I'm like, they're not bringing him back, are they?
Oh,
so
you
I just
picked
thought
that
like,
up?
oh yeah, because it shows him a few times in the trailer.
Really? Because I didn't. That was a surprise for me. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I didn't pick up on that at all.
Yeah,
I thought that was really awesome.
It showed him in the trailer, and it's like his tattoo is clearly visible. I'm like, is that Stephen Lang Avatar? And I was kind of like, you know what, like I'll just reserve my judgment and see how they handle it and see what's gonna happen. Although I'm not exactly happy about this, because I would rather just a different story, or rather a new villain or just, you know, I don't know why we need to bring him back, because it's not like he was one of the good parts about the first movie. Like it's not like he's so important to the experience of making an Avatar film that you have to have the same villain. And then just, yeah, the movie took place, and they kind of just...
Is that like one of the big things that like bothered you about the movie?
It's one of the things, yeah. Just the plot is the worst.
Yeah, because I actually really like that.
Yeah, that in and of itself, I didn't really have an issue with. In fact,
it was kind of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of what I wanted.
Yeah,
more
I wanted to know what you thought.
Was leaning more into like the mechanics of like this weird Avatar technology, and like how it could be abused by like the military to send people in undercover or whatever they want to do with it, and kind of, you know, match the playing field. And then that whole angle of like, yeah, it technically is the avatar of the guy from the first movie, but it is a different character. It's just played by the same person, and he's got all his memories implanted and stuff. And there's a few like scenes of exposition explaining that side of it, which I thought was kind of cool.
It's kind of the same with Sigourney Weaver, her character, how she's like voicing that.
Yeah, she's a
Nikki or whatever, like one of the daughters.
Yeah,
of
basically they reveal that everyone was like having 1 million kids in the space of that first Avatar movie.
Everyone was fucking.
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver was
Sigourney
fucking Weaver. Yeah, a little Freudian slip.
Stephen Lang somehow had his son in the last movie or something.
Yeah. Everyone was fucking.
Because there's like a kid going around who grows up, and that's Spider. Well, I actually like that character. Again, like, you know, you say like the Stephen Lang character is bad. I agree. Like, I didn't like him in the first movie. In this movie, I really liked him. I'm like, they fleshed this out. They fleshed out the character so much more to me. They like that interactions with like his son. I'm like, wow, I actually like this character now. Like, he feels like so much more fleshed out and like more nuanced than he was in the first one, where he was just like kind of scenery chewing. Like, I like him so much more in this movie.
Yeah, I like him. I was more... You're saying you like Spider. That was one of the sticking points for me, was that Spider character. I feel like for such an important role in the story, the chops on the actor needed to be a bit better.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the dialogue or the actor or a mixture of both.
Well,
but for me, that's a cool idea for a character, like a human. It's like the inverse of the first movie.
Right, grows up to be like a Na'vi, or grows up in their society, who's basically just a Na'vi, yeah. He like walks around like with no clothes on.
But you gotta have the performance to match that, man, and I don't know if that guy was there.
Sure.
The child actor sucked. I don't know, how old was the actor? I don't know. Is it a child?
I'm not sure.
The young actor
at some point he was a child. Definitely he was a child at some point, but I think like later on he's like more of an adult, right? I don't think he's like
teenager.
He might be like a teenager. Yeah, I have no idea.
He might be 30 years old. Might be a Michael Cera situation.
I thought he wasn't. I didn't think he was that bad, but I mean, we're talking about like the story and like the acting, and yeah, like I agree, there's like kind of corny parts of the movie, but I think like, you know, most of the appeal of the movie is like the CGI and that stuff and the 3D, and I really enjoyed that mostly. Like I thought, as a spectacle movie, I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. And the 48 frames, I guess that makes it look like a video game kind of.
It's just,
but,
that was the thing. No, we have to talk about that more, because I didn't realize that was a big thing. Yeah, first I suppose we should each explain like what environment we saw it in, because I did see it in 3D in an IMAX. What about you guys? Did you see it with the IMAX and the 3D and everything? Or?
I saw it in the only proper IMAX screen in Georgia, in high frame rate and everything. So, yeah.
Okay.
So we all saw it the same way.
Did you as well, Ralph?
Yeah, I saw high frame rate 3D IMAX, and then I saw it again the same way. So I saw it twice that way.
We've all seen it then in the arguably intended experience.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting because
I went all out.
That was like such a big. I didn't realize this frame rate thing was gonna be implemented into the movie, because especially considering the history of this technology with the Hobbit, with Gemini Man.
Yeah.
How like there was such a pushback against that kind of stuff, and like. I've been trying to kind of break down and understand the logic, and I do get it with like certain scenes where there's a lot of motion, and like I guess it does help with the water somewhat in the scenes where there's lots of action with movement.
I think it makes the CG look more realistic somehow. Like it's like the same thing with video games, right? Like this frame rate makes the graphics better. You know, I don't know the exact mechanics of it.
I kept being pulled out of the movie because of like there's no consistency to it.
Yeah.
It like changes between shots
Thank
sometimes.
you.
So it's
Yeah.
like, oh,
there were some shots that were like 40 frames per second and 30, and some that were like, most of it seemed like 60 at least, right? So I don't know. But yeah, there were some
I
shots
just got
that
used
were
to
like,
it.
I don't know exactly what the frame rates were, but there were certain shots where it was like, okay, that's a lower frame rate. And it was like 1 out of every 20 shots. And it was so weird.
I don't know exactly how it works.
It was very distracting. It pulled me out of the movie so many times.
yeah. So in a weird way, I almost feel like I haven't seen it properly.
I know, because I went out of my way to see it like that. I feel like if I saw it at a solid 24 frames per second, then I wouldn't have been
I don't
distracted.
know. I enjoyed seeing it that way.
Because it is really distracting, because like no joke, it does look like in some scenes it looks straight up like a video game, like a pre-rendered cutscene that's like in engine, like, and it's the game's about to start, like hand me the controller, let me take over.
Yeah. If it was a consistent high frame rate the entire time, then I wouldn't have had an issue with it, because my feeling about the high frame rate thing is like, it only looks weird because we're not used to it, and we only see
I don't
high
think there
frame
was
rate
lower
in
frame
certain.
rate.
Sorry,
I don't think there was lower frame.
you're the
rates in
only
certain-
person I talk to that doesn't feel that way. There's literally okay, but there were literally
I would really like to hear how like the frame rates work, because I'm not an expert on it.
there were. It was
But it really didn't
dependent
bother me
on
that
shot.
much.
It wasn't like, oh, the projector was, chugging along, or like it wasn't like it seemed intentional from the film, and it was only those shots. It wouldn't bleed into the next shot of like being a lower frame rate. It would be like as soon as the cut happens, it would be a different frame rate.
I thought I was losing my mind, and maybe it was just a me thing, but I did like look up some articles about it afterwards, and I found one on cnbc.com, where it's apparently like it's an artistic choice. It's this aesthetic that they want to kind of implement on certain movies now, I guess.
Yeah, that's how it felt.
Like this quote, what does it say? Yeah, the result is that Avatar: The Way of Water is the first major film to be released in a high frame rate but adjusted to keep its cinematic look. In the case of the Avatar sequel, the action and underwater sequences will run at a higher frame rate, allowing the motion to look better and more realistic, while dramatic scenes have been adjusted to look like the traditional 24 frames per second standard the audiences are accustomed to. It's a tool for the director to create the look that he or she wants shot by shot, Miller says. It's used selectively. Some shots may not need the tool at all.
Yeah, it was so weird. It'd be like, 1 out of every like 20 shots in some scenes would just be like a noticeably slower frame rate. And I was like, well, what the fuck? And it was pissing me off because it was just taking me out of the movie. Like, it wasn't like, just be a consistent frame rate. I don't want to be thinking about the frame rate. I want to just get used to it and be in the movie. I want to be in the universe.
Well,
right?
yeah, because personally, if I had a choice, I would have preferred to see a 24 frames version first, and then maybe
show me solid 60.
But I didn't realize this was even a thing.
Beginning to end, show me the same frame rate. Whatever. Make it whatever frame rate you want. Just like, don't be changing it like for all these shots.
Yeah, I really just didn't notice that at all. So it didn't bother me. I saw it twice that way. It didn't bother me. I thought it looked really good. I thought it's like the best CGI I've ever seen. Really, I can't think of a better looking film in terms of special effects than this. I think it's like 99% CGI, basically. Like there's like a couple of human characters, but it's mostly CGI. And yeah, I think like the 3D and the frame rates meant to enhance certain shots and certain scenes. I don't know. I really didn't notice the frame rate changing. I thought the whole thing was 48.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that's the highest it goes.
speed the frames were, but it was definitely it was definitely not consistent, which is my big problem.
Yeah,
with
the
it.
water and stuff. I think it's like a huge improvement from the first one in terms of the CG and that stuff.
The water looks
I just thought
incredible.
it looks so much better.
The water is the main character of the film, really.
I mean, their skin looks real and just stuff like that. And yeah, the underwater sequences are amazing and how they use the 3D. It's like the best 3D movie I've seen. I can't even think of the last movie like I've seen in 3D
Avatar.
actually. Probably Gravity, maybe. Yeah, like it's been a long time, right?
I can do without 3D. I don't feel like that helped me in any way. It was kind of just like we're back to this gimmick thing, you know?
No, I thought the 3D helped with it. No, I think, well, we talked about how the first one used 3D really well. I think he used 3D well in this one, too. I don't think there's like a huge difference. I thought he used it better in this one.
Because you can tell like certain shots are framed to make it pop as like much as possible with how
Oh, yeah, well, like
compose
there's
it.
scenes where like the bullets are flying at the camera. It's like, oh shit, that's cool. Yeah. And like all the underwater stuff is also obviously really cool in 3D.
I feel like my brain just
whatever.
kind of just gets used to it after the first like 10 minutes and I don't like notice it, you know? But it doesn't like add to it.
I feel like that with most movies, but the way he used it in this, there were like these set pieces again where like, okay, they go underwater and there's like these glowing fish that are like tiny and they swim around. I'm like, oh shit. Like, you know, like he makes it pop at certain points. Like again, we're talking about high frame rate. Like again, with most of these movies, I agree with you guys. Like Gemini Man, it wasn't even easily available. Like I couldn't even see it that way. Here, I just happened to like see it that way because I think a lot of theaters are showing it that way. This movie. And it's just like, okay, I think everything about the movie, like the 3D, the high frame rate, they were thinking about these things, making it and trying to make it work in the movie, trying to make it pop. Because it does I think it does enhance certain scenes. I think it looks really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the whole movie even, I just wasn't even thinking about it because, there's so much CGI, there's so much of that in this film. Again, the biggest problem I had with this movie is some of the writing.
Yeah, same.
For me, it's like the first one, just more improved, more modernized, because we have modernized effects now. I wonder how the first one would look in high frame rate. I wonder if it would look better, because I think that's what they did, for like that re-release they did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
oh, really?
Yeah, we didn't see the re-release.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I just watched it at home, But yeah, again, the problem I had was just the writing. Yeah, like the stuff you guys say, like the Stephen Lang character coming back, it's corny. He has a son. Like, how do you have a son in the first movie? They'd even mention that. But, it's corny, but I didn't really mind it in this movie. For me, it reminded me of, like, Terminator 2. It's just, like, a good action movie, It has good action scenes and good characters. I felt they were fleshed out really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's go back to Spider, because I was gonna add.
Okay.
Yeah, I think his acting was bad.
Yeah.
During moments where it required him to not be bad, and I had this kind of thought where, like, okay, yeah, he's the only human character, and so I was paying attention to the one of Jake Sully's children, the youngest one. You can kind of tell that they're probably the same caliber actor as Spider, but because of because it was like a CG face, the animators were able to like sweeten the performance a little. They were able to like give little bits of icing to it and help it in ways that you cannot do with Spider's character. Because if you pay attention to like the performance on the Jake Sully's youngest Avatar baby, like the same issues exist. You can hear it in the voice performance, but there's something that they did with the face to make it more convincing. Whereas the Spider human character, they did not have that option. So it was just kind of unfortunate. Need better child actors, or you need to work with them more closely, James. I find the story of this film to be like kind of like insulting in a way. I just feel like it was just so stupid because the first
really insulting.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of things about the movie are kind of like just really low amounts of respect for audience members. Like the choice to have the entire thing be in English, basically. When you have this Na'vi language that you create, you literally created a language in the last film. And then one of the first lines in this movie, like we get subtitles for like, I don't know, 30 seconds. And then Jake Sully goes, I learned Na'vi pretty quickly, and at this point, they might as well be speaking English. And then just like cut, and the rest of the movie is like
no, the subtitles
English.
fade out. They fade out. They just they fade away, and then they turn into English, and then the whole movie they speak English.
Yeah, like okay, so now it's just like it's like Mass Effect, where you have to imagine that you're seeing something different than what's actually happening, and so you're just getting a translation, even though their lips are syncing. It's not a dub. You're getting like this weird non-existent version of reality of the universe where people are speaking a different language, because you couldn't possibly have audiences reading subtitles for more or American, let's say English speaking audiences. We couldn't possibly have them reading subtitles for more than like 45 seconds in this movie. Like, fuck, it's kind of disrespectful. That really is. It pissed me off.
But that wouldn't bother me though. If then later in the movie, like people just speak English, like I think they're just speaking English in this scene. So it's like hard to even tell, like when they're speaking Na'vi and when they're speaking English, because the whole movie they're just speaking English. It's just
if they're Avatar people speaking to each other, the implication is that they're supposed to be speaking Na'vi.
Yeah, but then when Stephen Lang shows up, he's speaking English.
Yeah, Stephen Lang speaks English, and then he tries to learn Na'vi, and Spider is like better at Na'vi than him, and he becomes a translator. And then in those scenes, it's such a stupid choice where it's like, okay, you're James Cameron, you made the highest grossing movie of all time, and so now you're working with like, okay, production started under Fox, and then way late into the production it moved to Disney. So surely before it got to Disney, these were already choices that were set in stone. Was this a choice that James Cameron made? Was this like, you would have to imagine with this film, he wouldn't have that many restrictions. Like, he'd be able to do whatever the fuck he wants, right?
Yeah.
Like, the movie he made was just like fucking Titanic, Abyss, Terminator, like all of his other movies he just put into one movie. Like, of course he did what he wanted. So was this his decision? Mm-hmm. And if it was his decision, that wasn't really a decision made for art, was it? Or did he just think like, oh no, I won't make as much money this way, right? That's what I feel overwhelmingly about this film.
That's like a really cynical way to look at it. Like, oh, I just want to make more money, so they're not going to speak.
Well, why the fuck else would you do it? It's for accessibility,
he wanted to do that.
Oh, because he just wanted to do it. He invented an entire language in the first film. What do you mean he just wanted to do it? You could have had them speaking English in the first film.
Why not?
It does seem like a cynical reason to do it.
I don't know. I don't think he wanted to do that.
It seems like this movie was just made for money, and that's
the whole movie to be them speaking Na'vi? I don't know. I don't know if that would have worked.
I feel like it's more because the balance of the movie is way more of like to Na'vi scenes, so most of the movie would be in their language, so I can see from that.
You made a whole
I see what you mean about it.
Yeah,
you invented a language for the movie.
No, but this is the thing that James Cameron is all about, the broadness and the wide appeal. So can you imagine him like for this 3-hour, 12-minute long movie, like every Na'vi scene being in Na'vi?
That would have been dope.
Committing that hard with all the kit. Yeah, I don't know that, but you can see from his perspective, he's probably like that narrows the appeal, baby. Like we don't have the balance of that first movie with the. Yeah, but that's always been the thing, right? Like the characters they have a certain shallowness to them. Like the good guys are very good, the bad guys are very bad, and it is more about the spectacle.
They're
and
beautiful
the
blue people that look like cats, big eyes. They're the most appealing. Like they're like minions. They're like the most appealing. Like you want to buy toys of them or whatever.
They're very synthetic and spiritual
exactly.
and understandable.
That's understandable in a way because like you're. In the first film, he's stuck with the most recycled, unoriginal story ever, but I could see what it was in service of. The story was not the focus of the film. It was presenting this new world. It was about the visual experience. It was about, he created a language, he created a culture, he created all of this lore, this like all this backstory where you could read like a bunch of comic books and there's like an encyclopedia of shit behind it if you wanted to discover it. And it was to entice you into this world and be like, oh wow, this sense of discovery. And that's why this basic recycled plot, which has been used in other films to sort of exemplify and showcase those same sort of emotions, was used for that film, is because that was not the focus. And now in the second film, he created a much dumber story where it's just like, oh, I just want to, I'm going to kill Jake Sully and I just want to kill him badly because he killed my other body.
Because he killed me. Yeah, because he wants revenge.
Yeah, and now it's
murdering him.
Yeah, it's like a really petty revenge mission right? Where it's just like, he's just gonna kill you, and
we got to talk about like that. Like so the reason the humans are back is because they want to like colonize. Well, Edie Falco's in the movie. She wants to like colonize Pandora because Earth is like polluted or whatever. I think she said something like that, right? Like Earth is destroyed. Earth is dying. Earth is like, all right. And then they changed the MacGuffin or whatever of this movie from what was it called? Unobtainium in the first movie. Now there's like a new element.
Yeah, you can live forever if you kill the whales.
Into the lore. Yeah, there's like some kind of serum you get out of the whales, right, that makes you live forever. So that's like the new kind of thing that they'll probably use from now on in the sequels. And I was like, yeah, that's a bit more creative than like what they came up with in the first movie. So I thought that was an improvement, but I thought that was funny how they kind of just changed like the whatever, the MacGuffin or whatever you want to call it, the element.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't matter to me what the element is. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't care.
It's definitely a little better.
It's like totally not
the movie better.
What the movie is to me. All I wanted out of this film was to experience that same sense of discovery and wonder, and just like, the shots in the trailer where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like flying along with the flying creatures, I'm swimming with the swimming creatures, and I got that for 30 minutes out of a 3-hour plus long movie. And the rest of it was so fucking boring. And the rest of it was an absolute fucking chore to get through. That 30 minutes was awesome, though. I really enjoyed that 30 minutes.
the middle when they're in the whales.
Yeah, when they're doing the thing and they're learning they're like, we're teaching you how to do this thing from this other culture. I'm like, oh yeah, we're experiencing that same shit again. I wouldn't have minded if they just copied
fun.
And pasted the entire story from the first movie. I was just so not into Stephen Lang's character and like, they kind of did
like
for
the Stephen Lang stuff, yeah.
But
the humans come back. That's like, because like the thing before this movie came out, it's like, what is it about? And pretty quickly they established the humans are just back and they're just trying to like do the same shit they did in the first movie, colonize Pandora, right?
Yeah, but it felt like most of the movie was the conflict of just like Stephen Lang getting revenge.
Yeah, most of it. But they were also setting these seeds, I guess, for future movies they want to make with like, Edie Falco there. Like, she doesn't do a lot in the movie. They're basically just setting her up for future movies. And like, they just set up a lot of little things. But I did like that they were like taking their time with it and just like, okay, we're going to focus on this main story. Like, it didn't feel rushed in any way to me. I thought it was actually pretty well paced. They weren't like constantly cramming in like references or like setting up things for future movies, kind of like they do with Marvel movies now. Like, like I don't hate Ant-Man, but I didn't like when like Hawkeye or whatever his name is, now Captain America showed up or whatever. And like that was like so thrown in, and there was nothing in this movie that felt that way to me. Everything was like, okay, the story's moving forward. They're setting things up for future movies, but it does really indulge in like certain parts, like that really great half-hour part, like you're saying, Adam, where they're like in the ocean.
That's all I wanted.
And then the last hour of the movie is action, and I thought that was like fucking awesome. That whole last part of the film.
There were parts of the action I liked. Yeah,
really cool. It's like the whole last part of the movie, but yeah,
there were parts of that I liked.
Yeah, I especially liked when it becomes Titanic and they're kind of trapped inside the ship. I thought that stuff was excellent.
That was awesome, and it looked really cool. And yeah, James Cameron's a great like action director. I really like how the characters were like, like some of them get captured and get brought on the ship, so they have to go get them, and then some of them escape, and then some of them go back, and it's this fun like play with like all the characters and like where they are in the scene. Like some of them are like fleeing and some of them are stuck, and like they play a lot with that. It's fun. It's like fun to see them go back and forth escaping the ship, and I don't know. I thought all that was really cool. It was really exciting, that last hour of the film.
There were parts of that last hour that stuck with me. There were certain moments of it where it's like, oh, they just cut that guy's arm off. Like, that was fun. But
yeah, that was fun.
the action set piece as a whole, I feel like I would have enjoyed more if A, I cared about any of the characters and any of the consequences to those characters, and B, if I hadn't been lulled into a fucking coma for the previous 2 hours of the experience. Because I was just so fucking checked out. I was just like, oh my God. Like, just, it was really difficult to care or pay attention after a certain point, when I was just, the whole first hour of the movie was like a frustrating fucking chore. It was just genuinely frustrating.
Yeah, I don't know. I just really like those characters. Like, the characters in this movie were so much better to me than in that first movie. I was just like, yeah, I really like these characters. I enjoyed
shit about these characters.
That whole, yeah, that's fun. I enjoyed right, seeing their journey. I enjoyed the whole movie because I really cared about the characters. That's what made the action so good at the end.
I'm glad that they killed off the son that looked the most like Jake Sully, because I was so confused at points where they weren't opening their mouths. I thought I was watching Jake Sully in some scenes, and then I wasn't. I was like, oh shit, it was the other kid. Before they spoke, it was like too similar.
Well, yeah, they were definitely developing that other brother like much more. The other brother was like, I think, a little more developed. So I was kind of like, oh man, are they going to kill that brother? And that's what they did.
Yeah,
I was more disappointed with like just the fact that there are so many like young kind of kiddie characters and the kind of tropes that come along with that, like the water avatars bullying like teenagers, like the other ones,
like
for their weird hands, and it's like, man, I feel like the stakes were so much higher in that first movie, and I was never.
Did I miss something, or did they just not address that those kids tried to murder one of Jake's kids? Did I miss something, or did they not address that was like an attempted murder? I was surprised by
how they kind of just let that go. Yeah,
like what the fuck? You're not gonna like tell anyone that happened? Like they literally tried to murder you.
Right. Some of the writing is off. Like, how are they gonna deal with the next movie? The fact that like Neytiri held a knife to like Spider's throat. Like, are they just gonna like forget about that?
They'll probably bring it back up.
Like, you tried to like kill me, but that's fine. Like, you're still my avatar mom.
I mean, she didn't. She just gave him a scratch.
Yeah, gave him a scratch, or almost killed him. She would have killed him, maybe.
I don't know if she would have. I don't believe she would have, actually.
I think the shot before you see her, she's like acting like psychotic, obviously, because she lost her son.
Yeah, she's trying to.
Yeah, she's kind of scary.
She's crazy.
In that scene, yeah.
To make it seem like she would.
There was a guy laughing on that scene. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, people laughed at weird parts in the movie. I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah.
Where she was like... Who was like, someone was like injured and they go back into the hut and she's like, stop, you're not helping, or like you're doing nothing, like, and then everybody in the theater laughed and I was like, what? I didn't understand why everybody laughed at that part. That was so weird. So I was gonna say earlier, the first film it felt like, okay, I'm going to accept that this is just like a cliched, recycled, been done before by the books, paint by numbers story, because it's in service of presenting this new world and being able to just like dive right into it and getting the sense of wonder, blah, blah, blah. The music worked perfectly, everything, blah, 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 blah. In the second film, I don't get that impression. I'm looking at all of these crazy effects and the fucking so much money poured into this and every effort that this film is taking. And I'm going like, what is this in service of? It's not in service of like, is it in service of that half hour that I got out of it? Or is it in service of, it felt like that wasn't the whole point of the movie. Just that tiny half hour that I got out of it. It felt like the whole point of the movie was just a cash grab. And that's it.
Really, it felt just, this is one of the things for me is like, part of my disappointment is just how similar its goals to that first movie. And in saying that out loud, I don't even know why I'm surprised by that, to be honest. Like, it is. Like, they're talking about 5 of these movies or however many they have planned. Is it going to be like Avatar, the freedom of fire, you know? And like, then they go to the fireplace and then there's a scene where they're with the fire animals and there's one that fly, you know, like it's like the same beats as that first movie, like again. And I was like putting too much faith, I guess, in Cameron and maybe taking all those like decade worth of critiques of that first movie about that story, about these characters, and maybe trying to do something to address that. And I guess he did from his perspective with this, like these kid characters and Sigourney Weaver playing a like teenager and stuff. But yeah, I just wasn't as invested in that. I kind of wanted to see especially more from the Jake Sully character, because that is kind of the main conflict, like him being hunted and he is bringing this like war wherever he tries to escape. But there is like this down point in the middle of the movie where there was just like a lack of tension for me. I know that it kept cutting to the bad guy, like doing the beats from the first movie of him, like going with Spider, like, so they could go back into those environments and do the flying scenes
wrangle a
again.
bird.
Yeah, get one of the banshees or whatever.
Yeah, but it wasn't hitting that same way for me. Yeah, so by the time I was getting to that crazy impressive final like 40 minutes or whatever it is, in a vacuum, I really like. I think it's like expert action. It's like beautifully achieved and storyboarded, and everything is so clear. And yeah, it's exciting as hell, but I just didn't have that investment, especially when it has the whole like one of the kids gets taken out, and like I barely knew anything about the guy. I just didn't really feel anything when
it was a real who gives a shit moment for me.
Yeah.
Wait, okay, kill him.
I guess I was just waiting for some kind of hook to like raise the stakes or get me in a bit more, that kind of justifies it beyond the blunt kind of like amusement park ride kind of feeling it has at times. Like as soon as it opens, I kind of felt like I was in, because it just opens on showing off like Pandora and the environment for like a while, and it's like it feels like the start of a ride almost. It's like it's almost self-aware of that in a way.
Yeah, it does feel like a ride. That's kind of why I liked it. I mean, that's like what the first one is too. I feel like a lot of what we're saying is like the same thing with the first one. Yeah, like the story's hollow, characters aren't great. I feel like it's better in this one.
This was a longer, more boring ride.
It's more how long it is to me. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I thought the pacing was really good for it, but I just like those characters. Like I did like that scene when like the brother died or whatever. I think Zoe Saldana really sold it too in that scene too. To be fair, like I thought she was really good in that scene. I think she's really good the whole movie.
Oh yeah, she's great.
I wanted more from her. Yeah.
I think the acting is great all around. I even like Stephen Lang in this movie. I thought he was better in this movie. I just like the stuff with him and Spider. I thought
she
all that
is
was cool.
great, but she's kind of like falling into this weird pattern of repetition where I'm just like, oh great, you're crying again, and it's great. She's great at it. But it just feels like that's what she's there for now. It's just to like cry like that. For like we're gonna see it again in the third movie. She's just gonna be crying the whole movie. Like we already know what the third movie is gonna be. It's just gonna be the exact same shit again. I wanna at least try to go into, or maybe you can help me with this to understand why I feel so off about the plot of this movie, because if I can rationalize it, the fact that there's this revenge story now where it's like, okay, he's got this squad of people, and I guess the Earth military is just literally funding his revenge now. Like that's a mission. They decided to become blue avatar people. I think part of the reason why it's so off-putting to me is because it gives me a different impression. I don't know if it's more accurate or less accurate, but it gives me a very different impression than I had in the first movie of like the scale of the universe, of the scale of like Pandora and the planet or whatever. Because the way that these characters just keep meeting up, like the kids just run into him basically. They were like, oh, we're seeing the things that landed, like, okay, your kids are going to be the one to do that. Like, they're just going to be alone with him right now at the beginning of the movie. It's like, okay, it's just going to be you, like just you characters. No other characters are there. Okay. And then like they just keep, it's like they just keep fucking bumping into each other. I'm like, how big is this fucking...
They were hunting for them too. So it wasn't like, they weren't like searching all of Pandora. They were searching.
But they literally ran into each other. The first interaction was
it's the kids. You know, it's the kids because it's dramatic. But yeah,
but that's kind of annoying.
Again, I'm not saying the writing isn't corny. I don't think it's really annoying. I mean, made for cool action, but whatever. I don't know. That's just like these things.
I don't know. And then like I don't know. Like how big is a planet? How big is a planet? Like how many tribes did they contact? Did they contact any other tribes other than the water tribe in the first like? We could have seen that.
I don't know. None of that bothered me. That's kind of like...
It's just, it feels like so weirdly small scale when the impression that I feel like I should be having of Pandora and the universe that Jim Cameron created is that it should be a large scale thing. It feels like it weirdly betrays the universe in my mind. Exact same feeling I have with the let's do the whole thing in English. It's like, well, you created this fucking thing that, you know, like, why aren't you using it? It's just, why are you doing this weirdly small scale story in what should be a large scale universe? It's just
maybe it's
pisses me off.
It's comparison to that first movie, right? Because in that original 2009 one, there's that whole beat where like Jake goes around to all the different tribes around Pandora and like lines them together.
Yeah, like
right?
the forest part. Yeah.
But
yeah, this introduced like a whole other part of the world for me. Like it's not, and it feels small scale. It's like, oh, we're exploring new parts of Pandora now. And probably, in future movies we'll explore more.
Yeah. Next movie, they'll do the Fire Tribe.
They'll do fire or whatever
Do an
other
ice one,
element.
probably.
Yeah, I think they said they're going to do snow. That would be kind of cool. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, like snow, Navi. Yeah, something like that. They're going to do something like that. But, it's just like these things. Like I didn't really harp on the language thing. I kind of forgot about it. I didn't harp on any of those things. I'm like, it's a little the writing's a little corny. It's a James Cameron movie. The writing in the first one's corny. The writing in Titanic is corny. It just didn't bother me. I just really like the characters.
It just felt like it didn't just feel corny. It felt like so fucking transparent. It felt like the same sort of annoyances I had with like A Quiet Place at points, where I'm just like, oh, you don't even care how it gets to this point. You're just getting there. You know, I don't see characters anymore. I see props for the script.
Yeah, I feel like maybe I would have these problems if I saw it like in 2D. because it's like so much fun. It's just so much fun seeing the movie. What do you mean? What? I mean, it was just so much fun seeing it. Don't laugh at me. What do you mean? I mean, it was so much fun seeing it in 3D and 48 frames a second. It was like an amusement park ride.
But I just think that those are separate things. I don't know.
I bet without the 48 frames in the 3D, if I was just watching it like on my TV or whatever, just like a normal like environment, I'd be like, oh yeah, these characters are like, they're a little hollow. It's a little corny at times. But yeah, it really did feel like an amusement park ride. I'm like, yeah, I'm having fun. Like, but this experience is kind of like being back in Pandora.
I got that for 30 minutes.
Yes, the amusement park thing is like a interesting beat to me. Because like it's always like in the news, like movie news and stuff, like especially since that Scorsese comment about like Marvel and big Hollywood films, and that's just always it was always in the back of my mind with this, thinking about it from that angle. The line between like what is it we're trying to get out of this? Is it like a story we're going to remember, or is it purely just those visuals and the environmental storytelling? And it's just a repeat of history, man. It's like the same conversation as the 2009 one to me. I was really hoping to get more of a stronger emotional reaction, to be honest. I don't know. Also, the Na'vi, they're just kind of creepy, man.
Yeah, they are kind of creepy and annoying. I felt like I did get an emotional reaction out of the first movie, and I just like it was just so blank and absent, and like just such nothingness in this movie for me emotionally. Just couldn't get anything out of it. It was really. You could have gone anywhere. You could have gone anywhere with this story, and you just had it like, oh, I want to kill you, and that's it. Like that was the whole story. It was just so annoying.
Yeah, I was expecting more from the story, and it does make me question, like, for these sequels, do you want them to keep getting bigger and bigger, like, financially as well? Is that, like, a big concern of yours? Because surely at this point, you found, like, you've made Titanic, you've made Avatar 1. Is what you want to say with this purely just, like, visual, for the most part, Like, because these characters and the plot is like so similar. It's so these beats. You already made the joke about the amalgamation of all the kind of previous things he's worked with in his catalog, and it's like, yeah, I guess it is whether that theme park kind of nature gels with you or not. And I got to admit, it was getting me at certain points, but it was just the runtime. I was feeling it at points.
How do we feel about Jermaine Clemens being in the movie?
Yeah, I was gonna mention him. He was that was like a weird character. He's like barely in it. It's not really developed all that much.
Yeah, felt like a weird cameo.
So he's just a whale hunter like the other guy, but he feels bad about it. That's basically like the character.
Yeah, he was like a biologist or something, wasn't he? There was like it was kind of like Sigourney's character from the first one.
True.
Yeah.
I didn't even really make that. That's like so obvious now that you say it, but I like didn't even make that comparison. There's just so much shit going on in this movie that I'm like, yeah, that character was there, like kind of underdeveloped. Maybe in future movies they'll do something with him.
Well, there's a bunch of cool ideas. Like in this one, they really spend a lot of time developing this kind of like whale thing, obviously for this brain
they can like
unaging
talk
plot.
to them. It felt like such James Cameron like, I don't know, fan fiction or whatever for the ocean. I don't know the word for it, but just like, oh, what if I could like talk to whales? Kind of, yeah. Like, what if I could talk to whales, dude? Just like stuff he's like imagining in his dreams. It's like, yeah, that's what it was like.
The whole movie was literally just James Cameron jerking off.
Well, yeah, it's like set in the ocean.
It felt like an incredibly self-indulgent Like, it's just masturbatory movie.
I don't know. I thought it was fun.
There were parts of the movie I found so weird. There were like little tiny audio issues that I had, but it was once I started noticing it that I couldn't stop noticing it. So there would be certain sound effects that were done, I guess, through Foley, and there would be like repeated impact sound effects. But every time they repeated the impact, it would be like the sound would be so similar to the previous sound that it would sounded like a YouTube poop thing. Like you were using the same sound effect over and over. So like when people were getting hit by the fire extinguisher, there were like multiple hits in a row, and it was just like, oh shit, it's just like this weird like same sound playing again, and like the handcuff clacking, and it was so like apparent when the big fish was like chomping down its teeth. It was like this really noticeable like ow ow ow, and it was just like the exact same sound playing over and over, and I was like, this is weird, this is comical. Like it was like YouTube poopy. Like I don't know how to describe it, but like there's so many other big action movies where I don't know why I started noticing that, like, and I'm now trying to be like, well, is this a thing in like most action movies? Like what's happening here? Like why was it sticking out so much in this movie? It was just so bizarre. Some of the wing flapping on some of the animals, it was just like so much of too similar of one sound effect. And it was just turning into this weird YouTube poop for me. And it happened so many times in the movie. It was so bizarre. I don't know what was going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It didn't really bother me. I didn't really notice it. Thought the sound was good. Especially at IMAX. Since we're on sound, I guess we could talk about the score for this movie too. I think that was like a big point I had. Like, I really like the score from the first one. You know, James Horner obviously is not, he passed away in 2015.
Yeah.
So he couldn't compose this one. So it's a new score. I honestly didn't really like it as much as the first one. That's probably one element of it.
Yeah, same.
That I think it was better in the first
movie.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'd still like the score for this movie. They do use certain parts of the score from the first movie in this movie that were used well, I think. Like, I kept thinking to kind of Jurassic World Dominion, how they used like the Jurassic World theme or Jurassic Park theme, and it was like so out of place. It like ruined the theme. And here it's like, okay, the whales are dying, so they play like the tragic music from the first one when like the trees burn. I'm like, okay, it fits the scene. You know, the music at the end of the movie before the credits. I'm like, okay, they're using the themes from the first one, but you know, it is a sequel. They're using it well. Doesn't feel so forced in. And yeah, there's a lot of like original compositions in there. And it's like, oh, there's some cool tracks in there where they like use the IMAX sound. You hear like, you know, sound effects like in the background, I guess, or like parts of the score behind you. You know, it feels like kind of ethereal. I'm like, oh, it's well done. Yeah, I just thought it was really well done. I thought it was really good. Like in terms of science fiction, I'm like, I can't think of a better like science fiction movie I've seen recently. Like probably Tenet was like the last one I really liked. But yeah, it's really cool.
A lot of similarities
Dune
as well.
I honestly kind of like this more than Dune. I just thought the world building was so
really
cool. Yeah. I did. I liked it more than Dune. You know, the more I think about Dune, I still like it, but I didn't like it as much like as the first time I saw it. This, I was like, I was just really into that world. I mean, that's why I spent, you know, I put my money where my mouth is. I spent 6 hours this weekend in Pandora. I really enjoyed this movie. I saw it twice. I really enjoyed, you know, the 3D and being in that environment. Like, this is fun. You know, I don't think every movie should be this way. I'm not saying it should be like a movement, but for this movie, for the way he intended to use it, I thought it was really well done. He clearly put a lot of thought into it, James Cameron and the team behind it. I'm not just giving him credit. It's his team, too. It felt like really like a labor of love, this movie, in terms of like the special effects and all that. And yeah, the story, we can pick it apart. Yeah, I do have some issues with it that might bother me more as I watch it, you know, in the future. But just that experience of seeing it in 3D, that was like really great. Both times. I really enjoyed that. It was like a theme park ride, but like a good one. Not in like a bad way.
Yeah, it definitely is a different level of special effects, you know. It's like how it should be done. I guess the argument just comes in terms of like what it's in service of.
Exactly.
Sure. I just thought it was such an improvement in that way to where I was like actually really impressed. Where I'm not really impressed by CG anymore. With this one, I really was. That's why a lot of people
that's
like
true.
it. I mean, a lot of people really like this movie. I mean,
I feel like
really
I'm more kind of in the minority with how I'm feeling about it, to be honest.
Everyone clapped in the theater.
Yeah, people clapped. That's very rare.
Really? Not in Britland? Like, no one made
For
a
me, anyway.
single fucking noise. So miserable.
I did watch this in Georgia.
Okay.
Georgia, America. To specify.
Oh yeah, that's like who it's made for.
Yeah.
They love it.
They were having a
sure.
good time.
It's a big Disney park ride. Of course so that's what it is. I mean,
I enjoyed the Disney park ride. I enjoyed the actual Disney park ride where you fly around. That was fucking dope.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was like that. It's basically like a 3-hour version of that.
I wish I got that out of it for more than half an hour. Because I feel like I got that for like 30 minutes kind of.
That's fine. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think this is I don't know if we have much more to say about it. We should talk about some other movies.
Yeah, I think that's everything. I'll go first. Like I said, I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really good. And I don't feel bad. I think there's a lot of other people loved it too. I'd give it 4-star. I think it's a good movie. I think it's better than the first one, honestly.
Yeah, I'm still kind of torn because, like, with the caveat of what I was saying at the start of the conversation, that high frame rate thing was like really bugging me more than I was expecting or anticipating. So I do want to. Well, this is where I'm torn again because I do want to see it again, with it not being in 48 frames, but I also didn't love the story that much, so I'm not really that motivated to rush right back and get into it. But yeah, weird mixed feelings with that. Love the special effects. Love going back to Pandora and like the different environments. And clearly, this guy's got a fetish for water, like nothing else. I mean,
yeah,
and I guess it pays off in the implementation of like those effects. Yeah,
it felt like a fetish movie. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I like the little details, like this tribe being like kind of being more like Maori influenced and having those kind of things in there makes me kind of wonder about what else is going on in this world, what other tribes like kind of do and their rituals and traditions. And that's the stuff I like in all this kind of science fiction world building. It's just, yeah, mostly that dialogue, writing, general plot and characters. I just really wanted more to hook onto. So for now, after my first watch in the IMAX frame rate thing, I'm just right down the middle, like 2.5 stars. Because right now my feeling is that I actually kind of prefer that first movie as a package, but I suppose it's still early days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked the first movie a lot more. I felt like it delivered with what I wanted out of it a lot more. This one was, yeah, kind of a fetish movie. It was very long and masturbatory, and damn. Could you imagine if everybody got like hundreds of millions of dollars to put to their fetish movie? That would be a crazy existence. James Cameron is lucky. 4 out of 10. It was so boring. Hated all the characters. It was shit, and I didn't like the story. I loved 30 minutes of it. That's about it.
Damn. So you got no hope for the future then for the 8 other ones?
No, yeah. I'm like this. I'm upset because I'm not going to be able to stomach watching this film again. Because like I really enjoyed a 30-minute section of this film, and it makes me upset that like I'm not going to buy like a Blu-ray for it to experience that 30 minutes again. Because like I'm just going to skip through the other parts. Like, is that worth it to like buy a Blu-ray for it? So no, it's just kind of upsetting. I guess I'll feel some sort of obligation to watch a third movie. I just don't fuck. I'm so uninterested in this Stephen Lang revenge story shit that's just going to happen again in the third movie and probably the fourth. It's probably going to end the exact same way in the third movie where it's just like, oh, well, he's dead, but then he's not dead.
He doesn't
How many
die in
fucking
this one,
times
so
do people like drown
back,
and then come back without even having like CPR? Like, I guess just the Na'vi bodies just don't need to expel the water from their lungs after they fucking fill them up. Like, holy shit. That happened like twice. It was so annoying.
Yeah, I think so. Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some world building reason.
Of course. Yeah. There's some excuse, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, we're going to, I very not
That's sabotage.
enjoyed it. I was sleeping.
Okay. So yeah, my recommendation was for the 2001 movie Vanilla Sky, which Adam reminded me is actually an American remake of the 97 movie Open Your Eyes.
The 97
from
movie.
Spain. So I think we're going to talk about both here. Might as well start with Open Your Eyes. Directed by Alejandro Amenabar. How's that go? How many people did that upset? Yeah,
as,
so kind
as
of
a Spaniard, I don't know.
Yeah, so it's kind of a simple story from this era of when, I don't know, I was thinking about this. I was trying to compile a bunch of movies from this time that are all about like reality not being quite what it seems, or that there's some kind of technology that's going on in the background that's making everything crazy. Full spoilers, by the way, for this. So around this era of your Total Recalls, your Matrix, Truman Show, Jacob's Ladder, The Game, this fascination with these kind of ideas.
Eternal Sunshine shortly after.
Yep. But Open Your Eyes in 97 is one of those kind of more unique, definitely quieter ones with more of a kind of a mystery angle. It's not about like big spectacle or action like The Matrix or something like this. It's more of a mystery kind of with this main character. He's like a pretty boy, a rich boy, born into wealth, old money. And he winds up in a horrific car accident and has to try and rebuild his life and face, and everything starts getting difficult to understand. And is it a dream? What isn't a dream? And it all boils down into some crazy science fiction concepts that I wasn't really anticipating or expecting. I saw Vanilla Sky, man, so many years ago, to the point where it was just kind of vague images. So that this whole twist aspect and the science fiction aspect I'd completely forgotten was like key to the movie and part of what makes it interesting to begin with. So I had a great time watching Open Your Eyes. I don't know about you guys and what your familiarity with this movie is, but I liked its bluntness. I liked its pace and where it goes and kind of what it's saying and where it gets your mind going, much like all these other reality bending sci-fi concept kind of movies, Black Mirror kind of gut punch sort of reveals in this kind of idea. What do you guys think?
I really enjoyed this one, and it was interesting. I really enjoyed watching these two films back to back, because it was, I guess we'll talk more about the differences between them when we introduce the other film.
Yeah.
But, this film on its own was, there was a level of intrigue to it that I thought was very properly communicated in the film. Like I was always kind of like, interested in, where this is going and what's happening. And although it was a little slow in terms of like, I guess how it's presented, there was always enough to keep me wanting to get to the end and wanting more out of it. My biggest issue with this film would be that I didn't like the main character, and it didn't feel like one of those fun, you're not supposed to like the main character movies. It wasn't like American Psycho, where it's just like, it's still like an entertaining character. I was just kind of fucking annoyed with this guy. I was like, he's giving off such incel Elliot Rodger energy. Like, and I'm just like, just fuck off. Like,
I was kind of getting Patrick Bateman vibes a little bit.
Yeah.
In some
I just
sense.
wanted bad things to happen to him after a certain point. And so it was weird. So I was doing a watch along to it. And I've done watch alongs, with more seriously toned films before, and just didn't say as many things because, it's just social watching a movie, not necessarily riffing on it the entire time. But with this film, after a certain point, like after about halfway through, I guess we're going to get into spoiler territory as spoiler discussion, everybody. After about halfway through, I was kind of like riffing on it, but still enjoying it. But I was more riffing on the character. I was like, you fucking piece of shit sort of thing. But I was still enjoying it. Like the story is a strong story, despite me not liking how they presented the main character or what I got out of the main character. But yeah, there was some really cool imagery. The double where he puts the mask on the back of his head, and that was used again later in the other film.
That was cool.
There was some good makeup.
I like the prosthetic better in this one.
Yeah, he was more disfigured, I feel,
more
in
deformed.
this one.
maybe it's less realistic, I guess, but I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can't help but compare it to Vanilla Sky because that's the one I saw first. I mean, it's like a big Tom Cruise movie. But then I learned about Open Your Eyes later, and then I saw that. I think Open Your Eyes is better. Yeah. Yeah, it came first. I think that's a big thing. Like, it's very original concept. Yeah, it's like really well done. Yeah, it is more blunt. I like that about it. It's less like over dramatic. I really like the style of it. And yeah, it's like just like little choices. It's basically almost the same movie. They're like both of them. They have like basically the same plot, but there's just little choices they make. And this one's just like a little more. It kind of just sticks with you a little more. It's like a little more. Yeah,
it's much more elegant. It's that bluntness. Like you can't not compare because I did what you did, Adam. Like just watch them both like one after another, and it does like really highlight certain things like. How the Hollywood schmaltz kind of leaks more into the Vanilla Sky version, and how much more unlikable Tom Cruise is compared to this guy, even though guy still isn't. Yeah, I found it to be.
I found Tom Cruise to be more likable. I found it was like more of a cute, psychopathic vibe, and I felt like Tom Cruise played that better. Let's try it. Yeah. We can keep the first movie discussion as short as we want. Like, we don't have to say too much more about it if we really want to get into the comparisons, because I feel like we should introduce Vanilla Sky and start talking about it if we really want to. I didn't see either movie before watching them both. And I didn't know until, like, I guess the past few years that Vanilla Sky was a remake. So I'm glad that I never got around to watching Vanilla Sky just so I could experience this one first. All I knew about Vanilla Sky was, Tom Cruise, saw the poster a billion times. What was it? Cameron Crowe. And just,
Almost Famous. Yeah.
Yeah. And just, I knew that it was supposed to be like a mind fuck movie because people kept putting it on the mind fuck movies lists or whatever, like YouTube, Reddit lists or blah, 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 blah. And so, yeah, I knew that it was like, gonna have some twists and turns and maybe some like, I don't know, confusing stuff. And it was a lot more straightforward than I was expecting based on that. Like, it wasn't as up to your own imagination. It was just kind of one of those, like, you don't really expect where it's going, and it's interesting where it's going. And yeah, for me, I really loved the story, did not love the main character, and I feel like it really improved upon itself by the end of the film. I thought that the ending, the entire end sequence was perfect. From, the confusion and the shootout and the fucking G-Man character.
I really like the detective character. Yeah, G-Man or whatever. Yeah, I really like the detective character, how he's like kind of conscious even at that point in the movie. Yeah, that like he is just a character in his mind, kind of not really real. But yeah, you see like he has like a genuine reaction to it, which was like kind of interesting.
The doctor character and how he was used at the end, especially.
Yeah. Oh yeah, true. That was cool. I do like how there's no like ambiguity to it. It's like, no, this is a dream. This is not real. It's not like, oh, like maybe the partners made you do it. Like, because there's this whole other subplot with like he owns his father's business now. So it's like, oh, maybe they're trying to like get him out of it. But it's they're like, no, it's just a dream. It's just the whole thing's a dream. There's no ambiguity. There's no hidden. I do like that. I think that's makes it unique.
There's a small level of ambiguity to it where you could imagine like, oh, instead of him having used this extend your life cryogenic sleep service, perhaps when he wakes up at the end of the movie, if he wakes up at the end of the movie, perhaps that's just, this was all a dream and you're waking up from the car crash right now. Like that's one option, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. And I like exactly where they ended the movie. I like that tough to talk about this without comparing it to the other film, but I like that we didn't get the shot of the eye at the end of the movie. I like that it stayed black and it just reincorporated the line, which was the title of the film. And we just heard, open your eyes. I think that was like the perfect place to end it because it allows for a bit
opens
of
and closes
thought
on that.
and conversation.
Yeah. Okay. No, I liked it. I probably liked it better too.
Yeah, the way they trickle in the kind of sci-fi concepts, I enjoyed too, because it's not like they're really trying to hide it too much. Like they do have the TV in the background when they're talking about like cryostasis technology and this kind of craziness. But yeah, the way it's actually implemented and where it goes, and like the decision, that final scene you're saying about where he jumps off the building, and that decision that character is put into is a fun, like, cool way to wrap up the story and bring it all together. Yeah, I was a big fan of that side of it.
Yeah, and I felt like it was like so much more. Let's just start fucking. Okay, I'm just going to give my rating for this one, and we're going to start talking about it. This is about the comparison. So, yeah, I thought this movie was very solid, very interesting. 7 out of 10 from me. Could have been better. You know, there's its odd cheesiness or weird moment, but overall, really cool.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I think a 3.5 star 7 is perfect for this. It's not like, out of all those films I listed at the start of this conversation, I don't think it's like the best out of any of those kind of mind-bending, world-altering sci-fi kind of concepts, but it's really solid. Yeah, and memorable and unique and interesting.
I think it's better than Jacob's Ladder, which we talked about.
Yeah, I'd probably prefer it over Jacob's Ladder.
Mm-hmm. And I would give this one a 4 star.
Nice.
Cool.
4 star out of 5 star. Yeah.
All right.
That's what I give it.
Yeah, the comparison is the...
yeah, they're basically almost the same movie.
But they couldn't be more different at the same time. They're very similar and they're very different. It's simultaneously.
That's the thing.
But it's the same plot. It's the same sequence of events. There's like the same scenes. Just like almost exactly.
Yeah, same ideas given to 2 different directors with just a completely different style and interpretation of where to take it. Yeah.
It is the style that separates it, yeah.
There are things about this movie, Vanilla Sky, where I can see how they expanded upon the ideas of the first film, and I can see how they improved certain aspects and ways. For one, the main character was a lot more fleshed out and developed, and it was like the dynamics between him and his friend were a lot more clear, even if I didn't like the friend character as much as in this one. Like, by the time that he was saying the line, like, "You're my best friend," I actually felt it in this movie, whereas in the first one I was like, oh, I guess you're best friends. Like, you it didn't like feel like it was communicated as much, even if they probably mentioned it.
I like Jason Lee in this. You know, of course, Cameron Crowe, so Jason Lee is back. I thought that was funny because I didn't remember he was in it. Yeah, I thought Jason Lee was fine. Penelope Cruz is back again. She's in the first one,
which is interesting.
Same exact. Like, I was just like trying to compare the performance. There's no point. It's like the same exact scenes she's performing. It must be funny as an actor.
I much prefer her in Open Your Eyes compared to really? Every creative choice. Like I basically prefer in Open Your Eyes.
She had more of a character there. Yeah, this is the one character in the film that was not expanded upon as much in Vanilla Sky. Is she felt like more of a character in the first movie, and she was just a bit more absent from this one, which is weird. She felt like less important in this one.
See, a lot of the time though, that expansion is what I was liking less about Vanilla Sky. Like, I didn't need like the board of dwarves and like you know, showing him going into work, and because that's like just not that wasn't very funny in that first movie.
That wasn't very funny at all. I'm laughing now just because of how like awkward it is.
Because it's a good like 20 minutes longer than the 97 version.
Yeah, it's so unnecessary.
There's a bunch more kind of stuff going on. Yeah, and everything that's added, it feels more like like kind of like those Disney remakes where they're like, we got to make it longer and add more shit to add more shit.
Basically every decision, almost every decision in this movie was made in such a borderline parody Americanized way, where like now that we have, I think that's kind of much the point, more of a repertoire and many more examples of American remakes, we can see just how clearly this is doing a lot of the same things. It's making a lot of things a lot more loud and obvious, you know? And then the editing is like a huge thing in this movie, where it's like a lot of quick cuts for the action, and even some of the dialogue scenes, there's just like a billion cuts And
I agree with you, but like the worlds that he's creating in his head, they're like, okay, he wants it to be sensationalized. Like,
it's very
this is the world
sensational.
he's creating, the music choices and that too. Sure, it's the whole
billion
movie, not the
songs on the
entire movie's
soundtrack.
supposed to be a dream. Only half the movie's a dream because there's a certain point where he chooses to do the memory thing or whatever, the lucid dream. There's a point where he chooses it. So not the entire movie's a dream, but the whole movie feels like it has that. Like, feel like it's sensationalized, exactly, like with the music and all that. I really like some of the soundtrack choices. I think that's something about this movie I probably like more, like the use of Radiohead and whatever.
The Radiohead's great. I feel like some soundtrack choices were like very detrimental to the movie.
Some were weird.
Some especially just
the
ruined
one like
the scene for me.
Yeah, the one like immediately after the Radiohead song. I didn't know this song, but I'm like, that's kind of a weird choice. Not like the song was bad. It was just like it didn't really fit the scene well. But yeah, I mostly like the soundtrack.
Almost every song choice in the last 25 minutes of the film was just like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, almost like a Snyder film.
Oh yeah, it was so weird.
At least it wasn't a cover though. Zack Snyder uses those covers that are like awful.
Oh
like,
yeah,
this was slightly better.
Yeah, it's not quite that level. You're right. No, there were certain scenes in particular where that sensationalism, that Hollywood kind of style was really like comical in comparison, like the whole exposition scene towards the end where they're in the office, and in the original it's just like a really simple, they just pull out these like little stick things on the desk and like just explain the concepts really clean, underplayed, simple. And then in Vanilla Sky, it's like this whole, like, we prepared this video and Tilda Swinton plays the video on the screen on the desk, and it's like this crazy animatic and there's all this wackiness going on. And like it is like whiplash watching this one right after that original, just with how much they kind of just take it to that next level to try and, I don't know, make it more Hollywood, make it more bombastic and
make it more accessible, I guess.
Audience.
Yeah, for a wider audience.
Yeah, more accessible for sure. Yeah, like the dog, the whole frozen dog thing, Benny the dog.
They just throw that in.
Leaning. I was really wondering, like, how does this film play not seeing that original? If it maybe works a bit better, because
maybe,
I don't know, you'll say, like, at the beginning of the movie, like Cameron Diaz like gets a call and the song is like "Life is but a dream," so it's like all those little Easter eggs and things are in there that you wouldn't really notice.
There's a lot more attempts at reincorporation in this film, and in some ways I feel like it works pretty well for what it's trying to do. Like I kind of like that kind of reincorporation in a dream type movie sort of thing. I like those little hints.
Yeah, I like the reincorporation too, but it was more I was wondering if, particularly that Benny the dog thing, like just how much they were focusing on it and keeping like the cryostasis idea like in your mind, like whether that would get to be too much or too obvious.
Oh yeah, it was definitely too much. Like the foreshadowing in the first one's great. You see it in the TV.
Yeah.
Or in the Spanish version. It's just like on the TV. Like they mentioned cryostasis or cryogenesis. It's like, oh, okay. Like, it was perfect how they seeded that. In this movie, it's like, the Benny the dog thing. I'm like, oh my God, I wonder how that's going to come in later. And like, it's like, oh, he came to life. He brought it back to life. It's like, it doesn't even really like tie in entirely, I feel. Like, it doesn't even really work.
It's like, it doesn't really need to be so expounded.
It's just like something
so
funny.
Distracting.
They try to make it like funny, more comedic to make it more accessible. Like, hey guys, we're not taking this that seriously. We're still having fun with it. And, there are some fun visuals and stuff like that look cool. Actually, Tom Cruise jumping off the building or whatever at the end, I did think that actually looked better in the first one. Or I keep saying the first one, in the Spanish one. I thought it looked better in the Spanish one.
They both look kind of
maybe
bad.
Not when they're... maybe not like when he's jumping off, but at least like the shot when it like pans up as he's like standing like on the edge. I thought that looked better in the original one. I just thought I don't know if they really did it.
The green screen effects looked better in the second film, but the lighting was off in a weird way, and it was like inconsistent with where the sun should be, and it was like, okay, what? It was just weirdly dark.
Yeah, it looked a bit like the room on top of the roof.
Yeah, it was just weird that, like the dramatic scenes don't entirely work for me because of certain things like that, like the CGI or I don't know. like certain dialogue, certain creative decisions. I do like the original one that it just cuts to black and there's no shot of the eye.
Yeah,
it's just stuff like
it's
that.
better without the shot of the eye.
His face is much more deformed in the other movie. In this one, it's like, oh, it's Tom Cruise. We still got to sell this movie. You can't make him too ugly.
Yeah.
So it's just like, yeah, it's got some pink eye, I guess.
Which is weird because I saw the trailer after I watched the movie, just thinking like, how do you market this? They never showed him disfigured in the trailer, which I seemed a bit like I was kind of expecting that, but that's
Huh. Yeah.
So they never marketed him.
I guess that would have ruined the
person.
surprise. Yeah, I guess that would have like ruined like the whole twist, I guess, or part of the twist.
I found that there were like a couple. This movie has more intentional and unintentional humor in it than the first film. So I found myself having more fun with this movie, even if I don't think it's a better movie. I found myself having more fun because it's going for a bit more comedic of a tone, and also there are just some lines that are really kind of stupid. Like there were like
it's definitely entertaining. Yeah, I definitely had a good time with it. I don't think it's bad at all.
There was this line where they were like, "We're not cowboys." I'm like, oh, that's so American. Just like mentioning cowboys in it too. And there was the line where Tom Cruise says like, "Some people just say I'm like a guy who's just snowboarding his way through life." I'm like, No one says snowboarding for like an expression like that. That's not like, oh yeah, like the most notoriously easy thing to do is like snowboarding. Like,
yeah,
that's like a weird.
Yeah, that is.
It just seems like what?
Yeah, that is. Yeah, you're right about the kind of intentionality of it, where a lot of it, that exceptionalism is kind of built into the movie. Like Steven Spielberg shows up as a bunch of pop culture references to like settings and like spaces that they go to, and the references, and just like how star-studded the cast is. It's like kind of crazy. How many actors?
Steven Spielberg cameo.
In there. yeah, Spielberg,
Kurt
Russell, Michael Shannon, Tilda Swinton. Like, everyone is in the movie, and
yeah, I actually really liked Kurt Russell in this. I thought he was great
was good.
In this. Yeah, I really liked him in this. His reaction at the end too, that whole scene with that, that same scene with that character was great. Him like, his mind being blown that he's actually not real. I just love that scene in both movies.
Overall with this movie, I found it to be like relatively inoffensive as a remake. It's still funny in terms of like, okay, this is like such a parody of American remakes, and just the soundtrack choices, Salisbury Hill, and like, oh, really? Like, there's a lot of parts of it that I just found weird, but like, there was enough about it that I found improved too. And again, I was having more fun with it. It felt like the pacing was going by faster in this movie for me. I don't know about you guys, but even though this was a longer film, the music added to the flow of the film a lot, whereas I felt it was like a bit more empty in the first one for that. Kind of like a slower foreign art house film, whereas this was trying to be a bit more palatable to general audiences. And in some ways it worked. But I just like the real make or break sequence for both films for me was the ending, where in the first film I felt like it really tied itself together. It was like the best ending possible. I was like, okay, yeah, I definitely like this movie a lot. And this film, I was prepared to be like, oh wow, they're both like good for different things. I'm not sure if I have a favorite, but they fucked up the ending so bad in this movie. They lose the ambiguity for that point in time where the doctor character should be arguing about whether or not he's real, and they just didn't really do that in this movie. And there wasn't the shootout. That was in an alternate ending, and it also was kind of shit how they did it.
I missed the shootout. That was better. That was cool in the first one.
There was no shootout in this movie, and like the doctor didn't like hang out with him down there, and he never followed him up. And so like when we're already up there at the top of the building, and he's like, oh, you can wish for whatever you want. You can wish for your doctor friend to be there. And then he just shows up. Then it's like, okay, you've definitively told us that he's not real. Whereas in the first movie, you kind of believe the guy, even if it doesn't make sense that he would be real. You kind of believe his character, or you're tempted to, because of how passionate he is about. He's like, no, I have two daughters and like all this stuff, and like his subconscious version of this character like can't accept it. That's a really interesting angle, and it adds an extra layer of emotion to it. And then they just didn't do that here. And then the G-Man character in this film was like so much less intimidating. It was that that British actor from
that's what you meant by the G-Man guy,
the guy who
from the company
he's talking to
he's
about
like the technician.
Noah Taylor. Yeah.
In this movie, it's different too. He's tech support in this movie, so he's supposed to be like more of a comedic character, I think. Because I don't think he's like tech support.
He just seemed so weak as a character in this film. The other film, he was so intimidating.
I don't know. Mm-hmm.
Whereas this was just calm.
I did like the other guy more. Yeah, he was more of like a presence. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the execution of all of that was like laughable in comparison. When Kurt Russell starts like screaming, like, "I can't be entertainment for the future, can I?" Like you know, it gets like way goofier. So
I had a big problem with the Tom Cruise yelling. It just never seemed like
tech support
very real to me. Yeah.
It was weird.
It seemed kind of off. Yeah, kind of like weak acting there.
Yeah, I don't know. They really fucked up the ending. I would have had so much more of a good impression if they didn't. The fucking Good Vibrations by the Beach Boys playing and as he's yelling for tech support. I'm like, what are you trying to do here? Like, with the tone. Like, it was just so different in the first movie, and it worked so much better. And I watched the alternate ending. And the Good Vibrations, so they do the shootout, and Good Vibrations continues playing during this shootout, which is so lame.
Oh.
And it treats it like this campy, like, oh, I can't die, I'm in a video game. And like an entire SWAT team shows up with automatic weapons. And yeah, it's, again, very Americanized, but just like the tone is so off.
Yeah, I was really getting hung up on that. Like, were they trying to do like a juxtaposition thing where it's like the kind of goofy sounding song with like
that's what I was thinking.
mind bending.
Yeah.
Like everything's falling apart. So it's supposed to like be enhancing his insanity. It really didn't land, working. Especially that scene.
Yeah, it just feels like they were scared to show real emotions at that point, which is weird because there's other parts of the movie where I felt like this film did it in a more brutal way. Like the pillow suffocating, she was fighting back a lot more, and the editing there was like a lot more like kind of fucked up and sure a bit more obvious, but like or the scene where he has that nightmare that he has his old face and he's screaming and she's screaming, like that was so much more intense in this film. It was louder, and there was also like an extra soundtrack they played on it that like gave a bit more tension. The car crash, that was more brutal in this film. Like the impact it made, and like I was like, holy shit, yeah, like I can tell why someone would be fucked up from that car crash. Like it was a lot more brutal. And then just the ending, it just felt like, why don't you want us to feel these emotions at the ending? It felt like just weird, toned down, nerfed, kind of bizarre choices version of this ending. I just couldn't deal with it.
Yeah, I think the whole thing was green screen at the end. I think that looked bad.
Yeah.
I think they were on a real roof in the other one. I think so. I'm not,
They were at least outside.
It seemed more real anyway than the execution of this one. Yeah, that other one's just more straightforward.
Yeah, it wasn't distracting.
Yeah, I'm like with you. There's some things in this movie that they do better. There's other things that are just not as good. So it ends up just being like kind of in the middle for me. Yeah, I do like certain things. I definitely like probably Tom Cruise's character a little more in this one.
I do.
It made it more compelling.
And he's a better actor, I feel, too, honestly.
Probably, yeah. And the same with Jason Lee.
I'm just, I'm not with you guys on that one. I don't know if it's the fact it was a Tom Cruise or if it was more I already knew the story going in, so that wasn't carrying me, that intrigue wasn't carrying me in the same way as it was with my
it's hard to
Open Your Eyes. Yeah, so it is hard to know. But also, there is the screaming, there is the like, kind of has these like tics or something he's trying to do where he's like dancing like in a window with the mask on and just doing all these like crazy things, like, which I guess is supposed to be like, his reality is crumbling before him and he doesn't know what's real, but it didn't really land like that to me. It was more like Tom Cruise kind of just being crazy.
You know what would have been an awesome ending is if instead of the shot of his eye at the end, it was a shot of like a cat eye. That would have been a good like alternate ending. Like if they're gonna tease it so much, if they're gonna reincorporate that, like I'll see you in another life and we'll be cats or something. That would have been great. Just like wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Cats begins. Yeah, that'd be good.
Oh my god. Shared universe.
Oh god.
Jealous seal, yeah.
Yeah, it was so weird. Like, yeah, the good vibrations, the weird ass soundtrack choice. Oh yeah, they did the whole, instead of just saying you swallowed pills and you died, they said you swallowed pills and you died, and also we're going to show all these characters at your home and they were all really sad that you died, and we're going to have the music that they played during that scene. And I watched this with headphones, and so I could distinctly hear both of the song had like two sets of lyrics happening at once in different channels. It was like it was just such a weird choice.
That's weird.
Two different lyrics going, two different vocal tracks with different lyrics happening at the same time. I was like, what the fuck is this? And it was so sappy. It's like, oh, remember the broken guitar display? Well, she looked at that, and even though she didn't like it, she's like, it reminds her of you, and so she's sad now. And it's like, fuck, like long and drawn out, just more Americanized, sappy bullshit. And then the song when he was falling off the building too, it was so sappy. Like, oh God, I felt like more of a brutal emotional impact and more intrigue and just more purpose from the first film. Whereas this one just felt like a weird, like could have been saved in the editing room, probably blender, you know?
Because sappy is not a word I would use to describe that 97 one at all. It's inverse to the point where it's like, funny in comparison because it is brutal, it is matter of fact. It's just like, because it compares scenes one to one and it's like hilarious.
This seems like it was already saved in editing, like just from how you're describing like that alternate ending or whatever. That sounds really dumb.
Oh, it was bad. You can see it on YouTube.
How you describe it. Yeah, it just sounds so dumb. It seems like it was saved. Like he had all these ideas of like that juxtaposition that just weren't working, and it like reigned in his, like it could have been kind of like a Southland Tales almost, but I guess it was kind of saved. I mean, the story is so good at the end of the day, right? That it's just not going to devolve into that. Like they just stick to the story. I mean, it's basically the same movie.
What was the alternate ending then? Like what actually happens?
It's just the shootout scene, really, and I guess there's like a bit more dialogue.
They just add that
I kind of skipped through it.
Yeah, it's just
The video's 20 minutes long, but it's like really most of it's the same as the original. I would like to. I almost forgot a huge difference in the original film and this film was the what was her name in the first one? Like Nuri or something, Nurina or something. I don't remember. But Cameron Diaz's character, like she's insanely different. And again, going along the same lines of how they're making these choices, she's a lot more obviously evil. And I feel like that works against the film in this way because she's like, when he ties her up in this movie, it's right after she's doing like, haha, I tricked you. Like with her face, you can tell exactly what she's doing. Like she's really obviously playing into these like, I'm a bad person vibe and I blah, 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 blah. Whereas in the first movie, it was like kind of ambiguous. Like you believed her like, oh, she's this other character. Like what's wrong with his brain that he's seeing this other face? Whereas in this movie, it's like, it was way too obvious what they were trying to imply with it. And I felt like it should have been more ambiguous. Also, he didn't hit her in this movie, but they said that he did. But they just didn't show him doing it, which I thought was an interesting, weird, like, Americanized choice.
Yeah, that's also why I like the friendship dynamic more in that first movie. I know you guys said you preferred the kind of Jason Lee angle. But yeah, it is reeled back to the point where I thought it was going to be more of a question in that original movie. Like, I knew there was a car crash based on the blurb. They were establishing a bunch of different characters that it could be. I thought it could be the friend who's like, it's going to go that direction because he's like stealing his girlfriend and stuff, and they're having those kind of conversations and that kind of conflict seemed more real to me than the kind of, the very Hollywood glossy Jason Lee. He's like laughing when like Cruise and Tom Cruise like get together, and I don't know. It just didn't work for me in the same way the original did. Like, I know you guys are saying you prefer some things about Vanilla Sky, but there really wasn't any. Every time there was like a scene, I was just comparing it in my head and just thinking about how much better that original was in comparison. and how much more effective and consistent, and yeah, it all comes together a lot better.
She wasn't a mime in this one.
Yeah, why'd they cut that out?
There's no miming.
That's right. Yeah, 'cause she's an actor in the original, but a dancer in this one or something. Yeah,
that's the best scene when she's miming.
I felt okay. So there's certain things about like the dynamic and morality. Because again, I mentioned how I just find the main character so much more annoying, and I hate him in the first film. I just found like there's certain things like how he interacts with her after he's had the accident. I prefer Tom Cruise doing this sort of silly, like, believe it or not, I'm smiling sort of thing. I feel like that's just so much more likable as a character trait. And then especially after that sequence where, oh, they have this new technology and we fixed your face for real this time. In the first film, it felt like this weird sort of like, what are you saying in terms of writing a story sort of thing, where there was this stark contrast between how people were treating him when he was disfigured and versus right after, like immediately after, he's like, oh yeah, everybody loves me now, I'm getting laid. In the first movie, it was like kind of weird. Whereas like in Vanilla Sky, it felt like his personality was making up for it a bit. And it wasn't this bizarre, like, oh, everything's great now because I got my face fixed, or it wasn't as leaning into it as much. I don't know. I feel like I preferred that in Vanilla Sky.
Yeah, or I kind of like how in that original, I don't know, they kind of just lean into the fact that he is an asshole, and the quandary that comes with, you have a character who's known for one thing, they're rich and pretty, that's all they really resemble. When you take the prettiness away, like what is left, and like what does that put the character through? I felt that struggle was better explored in that original than Tom Cruise kind of like almost laughing his way through it. I didn't really think about any of the dramatic scenes that as landing that much in Vanilla Sky, and it just stark comparison to me.
Okay, I think I'm pretty much done talking about the movie. If anything else you guys want to say about it?
No, I think we're good. Like, it's a very weird movie. Out of all of these sci-fi concept reality isn't what it seems type things. It's especially Vanilla Sky is definitely not up there for me, but I would recommend check out Open Your Eyes. I had a good time with that one.
Yeah, definitely check out Open Your Eyes. And I guess if you want to watch this, fine. I wish I'd seen Open Your Eyes first. Yeah. I like Tom Cruise in it. I like some of the soundtrack. I like a lot of it. It's just how it's used at certain points I wasn't a big fan of. And I don't know. It's basically the same exact movie. It's really hard to judge. The story just kind of saves it, It's just like, all right, it's such a good story. You can't really...
Yeah, it does have that backbone.
Yeah, it really... Yeah, it does have that. And it has some good actors in it. And I don't know. Do we want to get into ratings?
Yeah, what about ratings then? Like, how do you rate that?
I just give it a 3-star. I think it's pretty negatively received. So it was just a 3-star. Not like an enthusiastic one, but it's like, check it out.
I think I'm there, like a low 3-star for me, like a 6 out of 10. It's it's okay. I wasn't like getting upset at this or being annoyed. It's just more of it's comical in comparison with the Hollywoodisms, and when you watch them one after the other, it is funny to compare and really distracting as a result. So maybe if we just talked about Vanilla Sky without going into Open Your Eyes, it might have leaned a little bit of a different way. But I'm probably not going to revisit Vanilla Sky, but I'd probably happily watch Open Your Eyes at some point again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad I did. I'm glad I got to see it again. Thanks for recommending it. Yeah, because Open Your Eyes was good. I remembered the story, but so the twist didn't work like the same way, but it was still a good movie. Like, I still enjoyed it. Plenty of things I didn't remember. That's it.
I'm giving Vanilla Sky a 6 out of 10. If the ending wasn't so bad, then it might be a 7. I was, for most of the movie, I was prepared like to give it a 7, just like, 7 and 7. Like, they're both, they both have their strengths and weaknesses, and some things work better than others. But I found it to be an inoffensive remake for the most part, despite being like weirdly comical at points. But I had more fun with Vanilla Sky but I think Open Your Eyes is a better movie.
I was always leaning toward Open Your Eyes, but I enjoyed Vanilla Sky while I was watching it. I definitely think Open Your Eyes is better.
Yeah, as far as bad remakes are concerned, like it really isn't in that same pile, with like.
Oh, it's not like Old Boy.
Or Old Boy. Yeah, some actual shit.
A big thing is like I think he wanted to make the movie. Maybe I don't know if Cameron Crowe wanted to, but it seemed like a movie he was at least like passionate in, and that he wanted to bring something to it.
Yeah,
and I think that helps a lot. Yeah, it seems like a movie someone actually wanted to make. Which, again, that helps a lot when there's some passion behind the film and not like a cynical remake, like a RoboCop or something like that, like a Total Recall. Mm-hmm.
I really like the Beach Boys, but fuck, it just wasn't used well in that movie.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The soundtrack's
yeah.
good. It's just certain points, it was like not a comedic scene, and then they were playing like, some kind of silly or I don't know.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's do some questions from the Sardonicast community. Head over to the suggestion thread on the subreddit and ask us whatever you feel like. I'm actually going to sneak in and ask you guys a question of my own. I don't know why I keep thinking about this. It's nothing to do with movies. It's just like one of these word things. If you guys saw someone pick their nose, like what would they be taking out of their nose? What would you say?
Uh-oh.
Booger. A booger.
That's funny.
What would you say, Adam?
Yeah, I would say booger.
Okay. Because I've had this real thing the past few weeks about the word booger and how it doesn't sound like with a British accent, it doesn't sound right. Like it.
What do you say?
I wanted your guys' take on it. Booger.
Especially sounds funny on the second one, yeah. Do you have a different word?
Yeah. Well, I think most people say bogey. In the UK, like I got a bogey.
Like that's like a, isn't that like a tennis term? Like double bogey?
It is, yeah, it is. Or like the bogey man. I always pictured him as like, man.
I never heard bogey man. I heard boogie man though.
Yeah, no, I really thought it sounds fucked up if a British person says it. And I'm glad you guys have confirmed that to me.
Okay.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I never. Yeah, I know when I think bogey, I think like I guess the military term. Like I have a bogey on my tail.
Oh yeah, bogey on my six. Yeah.
That makes it more fun.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. No, I just had booger in like caps just in the question segment.
Oh, nice.
Me to bring that up, but in other news, Fez Knight 64 has a question for us. Is there a famous person who you guys would say no to if he/she asked to be a guest on the podcast? Who's someone you say no to?
Harvey Weinstein. I don't know. Fucking Kanye West.
Yeah, I saw a reply that was saying something like, Adam would definitely say, what, Ben Shapiro you wouldn't have on or something? Because he does movie reviews, right? Like, if you genuinely could line up Ben Shapiro to come on and do
that's
an episode,
a weird...
What would you say?
I often find people have weird like expectations for things I would or would not do. Like, I've talked to and interacted with like many of people that I politically disagree with.
It's not an endorsement.
So yeah, I don't know. Like I would have to think of like that. But here's the thing: when it comes to people being guests on this podcast, like there's a lot of people that I'm friends with politically that I'm just like, they have more political YouTube channels, but I don't know if I would want to bring that onto the podcast because this is relative. Sure, we get asked some questions where we talk about our own things politically, but I don't know if. Yeah, it's. I guess I have like a different mind frame of inviting someone onto this podcast versus like would I be on their podcast or something. Like most, I would say I would be on someone else's show most of the time, but I don't know. Like you'd have to gel well with like the format too, and also this is like a fucking hour and a half long, 2 hour thing. That's like a big commitment.
It's a commitment. You need like a good mic and come on time and
record your own thing on your own thing and blah 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 blah.
I feel like it's mainly like, do I want to give like someone this platform? It's not that I like hate anyone. That's just mainly what I think about. Like, is this platform like, I don't want to give someone who's like Ben Shapiro a platform, obviously. So no, but it's not like I hate anybody.
I don't know if we'd be making too much of a difference.
That's the thing. He's like a huge commenter. I was just thinking about it in terms of like if it was an actual option, because he does like, correct me if I'm wrong, but he does like loosely do some like movie content now.
He wouldn't have anything substantive to say.
He produced a movie too. He produced.
That's the thing.
Those like.
Oh, Run, Hide, Fight.
Fight.
Every one of his movie takes is like he watched the trailer for something woke and then just says this is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? When it's the kind of bad faith culture war engagement without actually talking about the art form itself. Yeah, that could be a disconnect.
Yeah, like when you hear him talk about like John Lennon's Imagine, like he's not saying anything substantive. He's like doing an Armand White approach where he's like, do I agree with this politically? Yes or no? And here, let me bullshit about it for a bit. So it's like, I don't know.
What about Armand White? Would you have him on?
That'd be crazy, but I don't think
it could be a crazy conversation.
A lot of these,
you wouldn't do it though.
Exactly, like he wouldn't do it.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't want him on.
Like a lot of these are just things that I wouldn't even begin trying to set up because it just seems like a bad idea. Of like also you have to remember, like if we were to have like really contentious conversations with people and hold their feet to the fire on things that they say and all that shit. Like the way that we record these podcasts, we kind of have to have it in a way where at the end of it, they still send us the file of their microphone. Like we can't have it so that someone drops out of the call and they're like, I hate you. Or like we could have a recording going on our own end for sure, but like it's not going to sound as good. Like that's not how the podcast works. So I don't know. It just seems like, I have no idea. I try not to make, like yes or no, I would never, or I would, I try not to say those things because I don't know what I'm going to feel like in 2 years or something.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do this one then from Tasseled Wobbegong. What are your thoughts on the oeuvre of animation productions? Aardman Productions, i.e. Wallace and Gromit, Shaun the Sheep, Chicken Run, etc. What do you think are the studio's best and worst releases? I know we talked about Wallace and Gromit before in the past, and I don't think you really like it very much, Adam, but they got other options. They got their Chicken Runs, they got their Pirates, The Adventure was Scientists or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
They got some fun stop motion stuff out there.
I'd have to rewatch Chicken Run. I remember enjoying that when I was younger. The rest of them I'm just like not.
I think they're working on a sequel for Chicken Run. I think they're doing a sequel for Chicken
You're
Run.
right, yeah. I think it's a Netflix thing too. Dawn of the Nugget or something.
Chicken Run's good. Chicken Run's a lot of fun. It's been a while since I've seen it.
Yeah, Chicken Run rules. Like Chicken Run is awesome.
I really liked it as a kid.
Really funny. Like a bunch of like, it's really northern, like English northern, which is just, I don't know. I feel like it's a rarity in these big budget blockbusters to have that kind of like heart and honesty in it. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Aardman. One of my, because they're based in Bristol, the city of Bristol, which I'm not too far from, and every now and again they'd have like the, you could go and look at all the models and stuff. So I remember when I was a kid seeing like the flying machine and the pie machine from Chicken Run, like they had the actual like models and cases and stuff, and yeah, I loved seeing all that and like seeing the behind the scenes, and all burnt down in a fire though, which is quite unfortunate, but. Yeah. No, I like their movies though. I think that they have a certain charm, and like going all the way back to like Creature Comforts, which was just like a little like show where they went around like recording just people candidly in public and then like stop motion
Isn't
animated
it a short?
Like, this stuff. Yeah, it was like short little episodes, like 20 minutes long, of just like compilations of audio of strangers in public, but animated to like the Aardman like animals and stuff, and yeah, really charming. I've always been a fan of Aardman. Maybe not as much like lately. Early Man like didn't really grab me, and
I'm not crazy about that Pirates movie. I saw that in theaters.
Yeah, it was alright.
It was okay. It wasn't bad, but the Wallace and Gromit movie too. It doesn't do much.
I much prefer the stop motion over the like CG stuff they've done.
I do like Arthur Christmas. I was going to mention that. Yeah, Flushed Away is not very good, but Arthur Christmas I do like.
Yeah, Arthur Christmas is much better.
Yeah, that's one of the better movies they've done. That's a CG animated one, but it's actually decent. I would put that on like every once in a while on Christmas. Not every Christmas, but yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's funny. Yeah. And yeah, that Flushed Away, that wasn't very good.
No.
I wasn't crazy about the Wallace and Gromit movie either. I mean, it's decent. It's not as good as the shorts. I like the shorts a little
the
bit.
shorts are better, but it's all right. It's funny. They've got good comedic writing.
Movie.
They're really funny.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I would have to check out some of the shorts, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen them. Or maybe I just did when I was younger. I don't know.
Yeah, those are the Wallace and Gromit shorts are amazing. Like they have some of the best like action sequences in like animation history. They're awesome. Yeah, the penguin one is hilarious.
The wrong trousers. Yeah, that one's the best.
They're so charming to me.
Oh man, that one's really funny. Yeah.
Oh my god. Sorry.
I'm just thinking of
discovered something.
I'm buying a French press coffee thing on Amazon right now. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
And just like I'm looking at some of the features. It's like anti-drop design, and I was like, what? Like you have a handle? Is that what you're saying? And then I had to realize
I've smashed a couple of those.
Like I guess it's saying anti-drip design. Is that what they're supposed to be saying? I'm not sure. So sorry. Yeah.
Damn, you fully leaned into the caffeine life then. If you're picking up a French press, huh?
I'm trying to. Well, I'd like to at least have the option to make coffee here, and none of my other roommates have the. Doesn't mean I'll be drinking it every day. So we'll see. Maybe I'm changing. It's a whole new me.
Definitely drink coffee over what you said. You had a Red Bull, right? Like,
it was just a couple
that
sips.
shit
So,
off.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, so next question, I guess.
Yeah, I forgot what we were talking about for a second. Let's do this one then from Particular Camera 612. A lot of movies recently and even throughout history have been distinctive for their huge, sprawling cast of recognizable actors. Examples recently would be Dune, Babylon, Amsterdam, the upcoming Oppenheimer, and Barbie, along with past examples like Boogie Nights, Magnolia, JFK, really any old Hollywood epic. My question is, can it sometimes be a distraction from seeing this cast of characters as characters rather than a bunch of actors pretending, or feel like a cynical ploy to get people to see the movie? Or is it just dependent on how well they each act their screen time and whether the film justifies having all these characters and having them be played by these specific actors? P.S. Movie 43 is obviously the worst example by a landslide. I'll have to agree with him on that.
I didn't even think of that one.
I remember this coming up when we talked about Dune, right? You felt it was distracting.
I felt that way, yeah. But I would say it's dependent on the movie. I felt like I would have benefited personally from like a less recognizable cast for Dune. But I don't feel that way about every movie.
Yeah, I was feeling that somewhat with I watched about half of Amsterdam like a few weeks ago. I really can't remember anything about it except that it was star-studded.
Yeah.
They were all wasted though. Yeah.
Seems like one of those.
Yeah, it depends on the movie. You can do it well. There's many movies with great casts that are good movies. No Country for Old Men is a great cast.
Like Pulp Fiction, all the obvious ones tend to be quite star-studded.
Star-studded cast, great actors. Yeah, still a good movie. It just depends how you use them, right? Yeah,
like that personally, it didn't bother me in Dune, for example.
No, not really for me.
I thought all the casting was fine.
I thought the cast was good.
And it's like it's that balance, isn't it? Where it's like, is a project like Dune even going to get off the ground? Like such weird source material. How are you going to sell it? And sometimes that's the only way for these projects to come together. Yeah, it depends on the project.
Yeah.
Let's do this one then. From Count Brackmore. Do you think the Oscars would be more successful if they adopted a Game Awards type strategy of having exclusive film announcements and trailers baked into the show? Yeah.
I mean, maybe, yeah, if you were allowed to. The thing about the Game Awards, too, is like you're allowed to live stream it. I'm pretty sure. Like a bunch of Twitch streamers just like live stream.
Yeah.
That gives less time to the people getting the awards also.
Yeah.
And they already get no time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's also what the Game Awards kind of gets clowned for, is like the fact it's like a big ad and they got
it's sponsored
big
by
razor
Mountain
blade
Dew.
guy. Yeah,
whatever the hell.
And it's also like the only reason anyone really tunes in, you know, like, well, I suppose that's the predicament, right? It's like, how do you save it
cringe
without it just cringe, and then you get a few game announcements, and then
exactly.
But like I've never watched like a full Oscars. So I guess I would be more likely to tune in, but fuck, like that's a big ask. I don't know how you fix the Oscars.
The Oscars are a bit more prestigious than like the Game Awards.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're not just like an ad campaign. I guess they are. They're ad campaign for the movies nominated. But yeah, they're not going to like show a trailer for, for what even?
The new Christopher Nolan film Oppenheimer, which already has a trailer out.
Yeah,
but if they just timed it
like
you only get
movies
new trailers
and games,
all these announcements, blah, 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 blah. There's so much more of a hype culture around games.
Well, games, they're announced. Like, you make a trailer for a game 2 years before it comes out. Movies are not the same. That's what I mean. Like you put a trailer in the Oscars for a movie coming out in like March, like what, the Batman, like like John Wick 4, whatever's coming out.
Like, more
doesn't really work.
Strategically timed with how they drop their trailers.
Yeah, it's way different actually, isn't it? Because they can reveal a game with like a pre-rendered like cutscene or something. It'll show off a bunch of shit that like winds up not even being in the game, like in any form.
Yeah,
like that's a general like kind of like an occurrence that happens a lot in that industry. Where how often does that happen with movies? You get like a completed trailer and then none of it's like in the movie at all.
Yeah, although that's kind of like what the Barbie one is. But yeah, you're right. It's like very rare. Very rare.
Yeah. Marketing's very different for both of those things. I don't know. Like, I wish the Oscars would just try to have a less bullshit, just do the awards approach. Because they're bringing Jimmy Kimmel back. I guess they're bringing... Jimmy Kimmel's set to do the Oscars again. I guess they're bringing back some of the categories that weren't in it last year. I don't know what... they're still just going to be dicking around for like half of the thing, doing all this unfunny nonsense that nobody seems to enjoy, and except just the people in the room.
Yeah, are they doing that Oscar cheer moment, though? With the Flash, whatever one for last year?
Like, why don't they just try doing the Oscars without that? Why don't they just try? It seems like the one thing they haven't tried is just do the awards.
To actually make it about... Yeah. I suppose that's the only thing there's left to try.
They're like, we got to keep it 3 hours for the ad space. Like, fuck. Why don't you do that?
Yeah. The Golden Globes announced theirs, except no one cares about that. Yeah. I'm probably not even going to watch those.
I don't know. I just really don't care about award shows for the most part. Like, especially the Oscars. Like, I just... Yeah. It's just something about it.
You didn't care about the reformed Rabbi Bill Clinton?
Oh, fuck yeah, the Game Awards.
They won Game of the Year.
That's so the thing, weird. Yeah. Like the Game Awards, I've only watched it once, and it was that disastrous year where Joel McHale like hosted it, and he like just didn't give a fuck and was just insulting people the whole time, and it was like the most awkward, hilarious thing. I like that kind of cringe, but I don't know if you really get that with the Oscars. Yeah,
it's so funny because people will ask me every single year, like consistently, will you be watching the Game Awards or will you be reacting or streaming the Game Awards? And I'm like, no. Like, why do people watch the Game Awards? And everybody says, oh, because the new trailers. I'm like, but I can watch those on YouTube after. I don't have to sit through this whole thing to get the trailers. I can watch them in better quality after.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I don't understand why anybody watches this shit.
That's what I do. I just wake up the next day and just get an article up of everything that was announced. Scroll past it in 30 seconds.
At least with the Oscars, I make a game out of it, you know? We're like kind of trying to do bets on who's going to win. And it's, you know, the cringe is a bit more fun. I do my whole commentary thing to it. I don't know. Yeah. I have no reason to ever watch the Game Awards.
So sorry, guys. We don't have any advice on how to fix the Oscars.
I mean, they could try one thing, but they're never going to.
Yeah, the one thing
they could try, they don't want to do.
Have some kind of value, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, one more?
Let's do one more then from Socialist Hedgehog. Bar none, the most important film to me personally is Hideki Anno's The End of Evangelion. And according to Letterboxd and previous Q&As, only Alex has seen it. Alex, what are your thoughts, and do the other Sards have any interest in diving into Evangelion? Yeah, I don't know, man.
Do you need to watch the series before the movie? Is it one of those?
Yeah, it's kind of like the conclusion to the
yeah, it's the end
as
of
a movie. Yeah, exactly.
How long's the series? I've heard good things about it. I wouldn't mind.
It's only like 24 episodes, I think. It's pretty short. I saw it when I was like 17, 18. I don't know. I liked a lot of it, but I've never really... Some people have like an actual spiritual, like almost religious experience with this series. And I've like been fascinated with these people, and I've like asked people many times to like write in some messages what it is about it. And people get like profound meaning out of this anime in particular, and it's the deconstruction of mecha anime and all this. I don't know. I feel like I'm missing something, or maybe I wasn't old enough at the time when I watched it, because it does get wacky and philosophical. I don't know, man. But every time I've gone back, because it's on Netflix now, I think, the whole show. I'm not sure if the movie is.
Yeah,
but,
I heard the Netflix always fucks up anime subtitles, though.
Oh, dude.
They like change some weird shit.
That's right. Yeah, like weird translation. Yeah, that's always like an issue with like anime stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I like the idea of how much like value people get out of it and how important it seems to be. But
yeah, I'll watch it for sure.
I'm still waiting for it to click with me.
26 episodes in a movie? That doesn't seem like too much of a commitment.
Yeah, it's really not too crazy. It's more just if you gel with what it's going for.
Between that and like One Piece, seems like a chore, you know? Sorry, it seems like a breeze.
Well, this must be like 1,000 episode plus by now. Fucking One Piece.
Yeah, let's see. That's still like that's just the same series happening forever with no end in sight, right? Let's see.
Yeah, don't they have like whole seasons where they're like on
episodes? 1,050 episodes on IMDb.
1,050.
Wow, they broke 1,000 episodes.
Man, how do you even keep track of that?
Could you imagine being those voice actors? Like just consistent work forever.
Damn, yeah. It's kind of the golden ticket.
Yeah,
yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to start One Piece.
No, I mean,
top rated number 73 on IMDb. Wow.
Oh, well, that list is kind
One
of
Piece.
dumb. But
yeah, based on what episodes? You know, like The Simpsons has a high rating on IMDb. It's like clearly you don't mean the whole show when you rate it that.
Well, that's a better show, probably, Simpsons.
Yeah, top rated number 89, but it's like you're not talking about the whole show.
You know, House of the Dragon has like an 8 point whatever on there. It's like, oh, please.
TV shows do get a bit of a bump, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely check out Evangelion at some point. I don't know when, but I'll do it.
Not a big anime watcher, I think I've said before, so probably won't check it out anytime soon.
You're not going to start Ralph the Anime Watcher channel?
Maybe if I run out of things to watch. Ralph the Anime Watcher, yeah. I'm going to start a TikTok where I watch anime.
Yeah.
Not anytime soon. Sorry. It does it too much for me. And maybe do video game cutscenes.
All right.
I guess
that's it for questions, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Alex, like what did you didn't really... Did you really say like how... Because you said you watched it when you were younger, I guess?
Yeah. No, when I was like 17, 18, I watched the whole thing. Yeah. That's the thing though. I didn't really like it that much.
Oh, well then... all right.
Yeah. But that's why I'm like I've been trying to figure out what it is that I feel like I'm missing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot about mental health or something. I honestly, like the fact I can't really remember anything, I don't know, says something, but it is like the most beloved anime like ever probably. It's definitely up there.
Yep.
Maybe one day I'll revisit it, I don't know.
Get more out of it? Yeah, maybe, perhaps, I mean.
Okay, I guess that's it for questions. And I think it's my turn to recommend a film.
Is it?
And just got the 4K Blu-ray for Pulp Fiction. Haven't seen it in a while. Let's fucking do it. Bam.
Damn. Okay.
Wanted to revisit it for a while.
So the one before was Boogie Nights, right?
The
one before this was Boogie Nights?
The one before, well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think so.
Just making sure
right.
the order. I'm just double checking the order.
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah.
Let's double check, everybody. Hold on. I think it's my turn.
Yeah, Boogie Nights and okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your turn. Because you did the Revenant. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. All right, Pulp Fiction. Fuck it.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Pulp Fiction. Sick.
4K Blu-ray. I wanted to watch it, so let's fucking do it.
Hell yeah.
I've got a nice television that I can watch it on. And
Awesome.
all right.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. If you don't want to be spoiled for Pulp Fiction 1994, I think. I didn't even look that up, but watch it before the next episode. These episodes come out every 2 weeks. You can listen to them early if you go to patreon.com/Sardonicast or sardonicast.com, sign up for premium. Only $2 a month. You'll hear these episodes sooner than if you were just watching them publicly. Also, we've got merch, and you're probably too late for Christmas, so you should buy for next year's Christmas instead. Also, we've got a Sardonicast highlights channel. You can check that out. Also, send us some fan art on the subreddit or on Twitter, #Sardonicast fan art. As long as Elon doesn't create a new rule saying no Sardonicast fan art because it hurts him, you never know.
Can I put YouTube links on Twitter anymore? I guess not, right?
No, you can. They didn't include YouTube when they made that rule, and also the rule lasted like 24 hours, and they deleted the tweet. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind then.
It's really funny.
That confused me. Oh my god! So I guess I'm just not using Twitter anymore.
All right. See y'all.
Thanks for listening.
After Christmas, I guess this will be released publicly slightly after Christmas.
See y'all later.
It'll be right after the day after Christmas.
Merry Christmas too.
Happy
Merry Christmas. Happy
holidays
New Year.
of any variety.
Happy holidays.
Happy Satan
happy,
worshiping.
Hanukkah.
Dudism.
Yes.
Scientology.
Dudism. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I love that religion.
Meow.
All right, bye everybody.
Bye.